Boys and girls, can I say that it is great to be with you this morning, and I hope you are keeping well and that school is going well for you, and that even in what seems like really mad world at the moment, that you're still having a good time, and that you're able to look forward to Christmas and to get some time off school. It's been really lovely to be in Moira in the last couple of weeks, and it's really lovely to hear stories from Howard and from different people about what you guys are doing in Jam over the last couple of weeks. And this morning we're going to look at a story from 2 Kings chapter 5 about Naaman and his slave girl. Now, you guys have been thinking about people of courage over the last couple of weeks, and I think that's great, because don't we all want to be a little bit like a person of courage? We want to be people who take a stand for God when life gets hard. We want to know that God is with us and that by his strength we can do this. And so we think about this story together, and we want to think about it in the big picture of what God is trying to do. So God has made promises to David a long time before this story, and he says that he is going to set up a line of kings who are going to be able to help him build his kingdom. They're going to be the greatest nation in all of the earth. But after David, all the stories seem to slowly just descend and get worse and worse, and the kings that come, well, they just get badder and badder, and eventually the kingdom breaks in half. And so today we pick up a story, and it's about a commander. Naaman is an army commander of one of the kings of Syria, and he's a powerful man. The Bible describes Naaman as a mighty man of valor. He's somebody who's this great warrior, this great king, someone who is able to go to war with folks. But Naaman has a problem. And Naaman's problem is that he suffers from leprosy. Now, leprosy is this terrible illness that we read about, and it covers you in boils, and you're all sore, and basically you begin to stop feeling anything, and little bits of you might fall off. So you might lose a finger or a toe, and you don't really feel it going off. It's disgusting. And sadly for Naaman, there's no cure to this illness. There was no hope for him. There was no chance of him ever getting better. But the slave girl knows something that he doesn't. And this is why we're talking about her this morning, because she does something that's really courageous. She does something that we might find really hard to do. And so this slave girl is taken from Israel, right? As Naaman is raiding Israel, he takes her with him, and he gives her, the slave girl, to his wife. And one day, when she hears about Naaman and his leprosy and his difficulties and his illness, she says to his wife, I know what will cure him. If he can go to the prophet that God has sent from my land, then he'll be cured. Now, the prophet she was talking about was Elisha. And a prophet is someone who God sends to speak his word to the people. Now, why is this courageous? Well, here's this little slave girl, and she's been taken from the land in which she knows. She's been removed from her family. She's been taken to a foreign place where she knows nobody. She's been put into slavery. But yet, she stands up for God. She remembers the God of Israel. She remembers how powerful he is. She remembers that he is the God that can heal anyone. And it's interesting, isn't it, boys and girls, that she does this for Naaman. She tells this story to someone who has captured her, someone who probably hasn't treated her very well, someone who you wouldn't be surprised if she just hated him and didn't want to help him. She worked for him, but yet she was really nice to him, and that shows great courage. And so Naaman goes, and he goes to visit this Elisha and is ultimately healed at the end of the story. But why is this little girl courageous? Why is this slave girl someone that we're thinking about this morning as a person of courage? Well, I think she's courageous because she takes a stand for God when it would have been much easier for her to just do nothing. She does something that I find difficult, and you might find difficult to do. She loves her enemies. She loves the people that hurt her. She loves the people who don't agree with her. She loves the people who maybe annoy her or frustrate her. And that's such a courageous thing to do. And she helps people that she maybe doesn't really want to help. And boys and girls, this is what we're called to do as Christians. We're called to be people who are courageous. We're called to be people who do God's work. And part of that is how we love people. So when you go to school on Monday, or when you sit around dinner table today, or wherever it may be, and somebody says something that annoys you, how are you going to respond? You see, I think we got to see that actually Jesus calls us in the Bible to be people who love one another well. You should love people as well as you want to be loved. You see, God has loved us. He's loved us so much that he sent his Son into the world to die for us. And if this is how much he loves us, then we need to show that to other people. We need to be like the slave girl. We need to remember God's goodness. We need to remember his power. And even when our life might be in danger, or that we're standing up against our enemies, we've got to remember God and show his love to one another. We've got to remember his purposes.